Hello everybody and welcome to Kaiserpunk, a relatively new city builder made by Overseer Games. Now Overseer Games were nice enough to give us a free copy of this game in order to have a little look, in order to give a little bit of a sort of, I don't know, maybe my thoughts and sort of some of the gameplay. So I thought I'd go through some of the beginner gameplay, see how you get your sort of city built, and then sort of give you a little bit of a kind of thought about how I found the game. I've had the game for maybe about a month, and maybe a little bit longer than that now. Yeah, probably closer to 2 months now, I think about it, which I've been trying it, and just sort of give you an idea of kind of what I'm thinking about. Just as well, full disclosure, I did receive this as a free review copy from keymailer.com as well as Overseer Games, so just to let you know that that is the case, but that shouldn't be interfering with any kind of like my thoughts or anything like that. This is not a paid sponsorship, this is just a free review copy that I've received. So anyway, let's go in. So what has happened in the world of Kaiserpunk? Well, things haven't gone particularly well in the world as a whole, unfortunately. We get to decide where we want to start, so of course we're going to start over in Edinburgh, as close as we can get to where I am just now. So that's where we're going to start. The world is in a little bit of a shambles, as it is at the moment. You know, there's been a horrific war. People kind of like living in a bad place. What's our name? Our name is Alexander Cooper of Tech Ridge. That sounds pretty good. And we get to decide what kind of faction we want to be. There's a couple of factions that you can choose from, and each of them have the sort of bonuses and negative that kind of go along with that. It really just depends on which one you're kind of taking. You can see there you've got different kind of tanks, artillery, your planes, your bombers, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got stuff that is either sort of mostly modeled after, you know, like Soviet or I guess a mixture of kind of like American and British, or as you will see down sort of here, like sort of German World War II, World War I kind of tanks, you know. You can see it definitely has its kind of influences on its sleeves, let's put it that way. We get to choose which one we want to do. I think that we will choose the Maritime Dominion. I think that means we'll have much better fleets, which I think could be very, very useful. So let's go with that. We can now design our flag. I think I kind of like the default flag, to be quite honest. I think it looks quite pretty and blazes in the wind there. And I think we can go in with that. We'll just go with a starting normal preset. Now, as I kind of was saying, it's a pretty decent city builder, Kaiserpunk, and you've got a couple of different elements in it. You've got the city builder aspect, you've got the sort of more strategic kind of warfare aspect as well, and that's all kind of based on how you do in the city and how you do in the thing. Everything kind of interconnects each other, and that is quite good. And it certainly is not an issue that I have with the game. In fact, I'd say overall, well, here we are, we've got the sort of intro thing. You can see that once home to great civilizations, the bastion of various scientific ventures now lies in ruins. Things aren't going particularly well. And on once home to great civilizations, the bastion of various scientific ventures now lies in ruins. Not good. Not good. Yeah, the sort of setting seems to be kind of like after the Great War, the World War, this is kind of what's happened. So now we need to lead to a great restoration. So what we're going to do is we're just going to press pause as we're going to go into it. Yeah, I just want to say, like, overall, if you just want to hear the sort of like the quick be all and end all, overall I'd say that my thoughts on this game is positive. I actually quite like this game. I think it's good. It does have some issues with it, and I'll potentially go into it as we kind of go in, but we don't really need to worry about that so much now. But instead, let us consider about what we're going to do first. So let's think about building up our first little housing district. I'm just going to kind of build, I guess, what you would kind of call like your sort of basic sort of anno district. I quite like the ones with sort of a bit in the middle so you can get some decorations. And we'll build out some roads. Roads do cost a little bit of money in upkeep, as we can see. So roads aren't free. They do cost you just ever so slightly. It's okay. I like to have just a little bit of separation from that. So we've got our first kind of area up when it comes to actually building. We can go to 2 different tabs as well. What do we need to do now? Well, we need to sit there and we need to start doing some things in order to start developing stuff. So we're gonna need ourselves a depot. Is one of the things I dislike is that sometimes you'll get the names of the buildings come up and sometimes you will not, but that's mostly just a UI issue, and it's probably a bit of a skill issue as well, let's be completely fair. Let's get ourselves a depot up, so we're going to want to get that down. We're going to want to make sure that, and not housing things, we want to make sure that we've got our industry buildings. Why can I not seem to find anything today? Because we don't want a weaver, we don't want anything like that. What we actually want is we want the cutters. We want the sort of way to get forester. There we are. So this is what this is going to do, is going to cut down wood. Now we've already got ourselves our depot there. The way the sort of buildings work is there's going to be a depot in range for you to kind of come in and cut things down. So we're going to build a forester here. That's going to cut down the trees, and it's going to bring it to the depot. Fantastic. There we go. We do also want to make sure that's also connected up to our main place here. Fantastic. So now that we've got that started, we can also potentially think about doing some things with agriculture. It's a little bit too small there. Can we fit in another farm there? Can't fit in a farm there. That is a little bit of a shame, but you know, it's okay. Right, so we've got ourselves our woodcutter. Now we want to get ourselves our lumber yard. Our lumber yards can work kind of in this little square here. In fact, we can fit in, oh yeah, we can fit in 2 there if we want to. Fantastic. This will let us start to build up our basic kind of thing. And it's kind of very similar, as I say, to kind of an anno idea. You've got places that produce. So in this case, this forest will produce, takes a certain number of laborers, in this case 10, is going to make yourself a bunch of plywood. Does also require some cash in order to do. You've got your depot here, you've got your laborers that go around in the little trucks, they pick up stuff, they bring them back, they press them. As I say, exactly like anno in that kind of sense. As far as your kind of population goes, you've got your laborers, you've got your manufacturers, which is like the level up from that, your technicians, and your specialists, and then that kind of like determines how many people you've got to in order to work, how many people you've got in order to work in, say, like your farms, how many people can go into your armies and such like that. So that's how that works. So overall, we probably maybe actually did a little bit too much housing. I do quite like to be quite aggressive with my early housing, just in order to get the sort of like the labor market rolling. We're just going to make sure that we're producing wood. Again, we can see here that we've got 100% operation. There we go. Once the sort of inner circle goes, and that's sort of done. And that's just got the whole bit there. A little truck comes out, picks it up, brings it. We'll probably bring it back, either back to the depot. Yeah, he's going to bring it to the depot. And then we're going to give it to the lumber yard. Lumber yard can bring it back. And hey presto, that's how it goes. Good stuff. And that's how basically how your sort of your logistics kind of work. So yeah, there we go. So you should be picking it up, bringing that over, and dumping that off. We've still got another couple of trucks there, so we don't have to worry too much about this depot being overloaded. And we've actually even reached a new development level. Fantastic. Which means that we can build a market and gravel roads should we want to. So potentially something we want to think about, but we don't have to worry about it. So now there's obviously different types of housing that you have. Ah, here we go. We got a little bit of interruption by taking the first step. We've ensured our survival. In time we will know greatness, but for now we'll be satisfied with just survival. Thank you, Governor. Governor, time choose an area that we focus on first. European lands were once called bread baskets because of their soil fertility. Bountiful lands were turned into barren wastelands by the war, which we could replant and produce food in large quantities. We could also turn our sights towards rebuilding the industry. Fires of various industrial facilities were extinguished by the ravages of war. Grant will make sure our efforts were not in vain. Bollocks, pardon my French. If you want, we could rebuild our military right, though it might seem unwise because everyone's still recovering from the Great War. You say that being forearmed is forewarned or something like that. What shall we do? Well, I think personally we probably need to rebuild our industry. Industry gives us a lot of options in order to go forward. Laziness was never an option. A call to action, more of responders survives from beyond the city limits and travel to join our growing community in search of work. Hey, fantastic. Additional labourers. That is what we like to see. So we can use them to help us continue to build stuff. So we've got our production area over here. So let us go ahead and build ourselves. We don't quite have enough for this, so hopefully we can build that extra bit of plywood. But we've got very little plywood at all, but we should be able to build that up fairly quickly. And once we can get another one of that up, I think we should be able to kind of keep this going. I can't remember offhand exactly what the way in. I know certainly in Anno and such like that, it has different things. So we can see here, because it doesn't quite clearly give you the time to create. It just kind of gives you tells you how much is being produced and how what your efficiency is, but it doesn't actually give you like the numbers, which I dislike. I think that is something that could be kind of done, even if it was just like a little number underneath, so you knew how much. Okay, I know every say minute we're doing that. Ah, okay, never mind. Fires of industry cannot be quenched. Our craftsmen are rubbing their hands in anticipation of quality material so that they can start building and improving the projects to come up with. Soon we have to have a lot of quality material that undertakes more complex projects. Governor, a band of natural deposit line us for a wait. We've exploited several of them already, but there are many more to be discovered and utilised for our benefit. I suggest we establish mines in locations with natural deposits, extract the ore so we might use it later. I agree, and we will have things, so like we've got coal, for example, we'll be able to use. What we're going to do as well is we're going to say, hey, we've got a whole bunch of these guys here. We're going to go them out and say, hey, see all these like scrap heaps and all these ruins and such. Let's just try and grab as much stuff as we can. There's no point letting all of this good stuff go to waste. This will help us as well with our initial building by able to give us sort of like a whole bunch of resources. So for example, we can see now that we have 25 plywood, which is great. That's exactly what we want. It means that we can build another lumber yard, so we will. Fantastic. That's going to mean that we're going to be able to get more plywood more quickly. And by getting more and more plywood, that means we'll also be able to build up other things. One thing we will need to do is we need to think about farms. So we need to think about things like our grain fields or our farms, or either vegetables or grain. We can also get cotton, but we don't really have that just yet. We're just in the sort of like comfy little early game part of City Builder, which I always love the sort of like introduction to like a city builder. It is probably the bit that feels like the most, I guess it's because you don't have like anything built yet, it feels like you've got the most kind of most time to kind of do stuff, to be honest. Like you've got all the potential in front of you and none of the kind of what's a polite way of putting it, none of the tech debt or layout debt that you've accumulated over the time. Yeah, which is usually what happens when you're playing things like Soviet workers and such. Apologies if you see me kind of moving around the map. I'm just kind of trying to see where our resource deposits are. We can see we've got gravel, we can see we've got clay. It looks like we've got some quartz and some coal, some more quartz. Whole bunch of coal over by this mountain, that'll be very good. Some limestone over there. It's definitely one thing that I've got to say that I do, and we've got unlimited water, which is also good. You can kind of see that some of these resources will eventually, you know, run out, which isn't ideal, but others will not. So we're really kind of looking for how we want to expand. We're kind of getting our farms up, which is good. And now we do also have fire station, which I think we'll put down over here. We cannot. I thought we'd kind of a little bit more plywood than that, but obviously not. We're just still producing just a little bit more, but that's okay. We can also see what else we have. We've got the market, which also requires 16, which enables us to travel with merchants and trade with other regions and such. Basically allows us to kind of like start to expand out a little bit further. We can see here that we have our map here, lots of lovely little rivers, you know, bunch of warehouses and such that we're currently dismantling. It's one of the good things about having the excess population is you are able to kind of do this. It means that you can kind of help out, and obviously how to do that is you can have you know, you have bread, you have vegetables, and that's how you kind of, you know, you increase the needs. The more needs that somebody has, the more people can fit in every household. And that's really helps. Okay, now we can actually get this fire station down, because much like Anno, everything's built out of tinder, so things are just going to go up in flames all the time. And that's something we're going to have to have a little bit of a thought about. Now, as far as production goes, we can't quite build a bakery yet, which is a bit of a shame, or a flour mill. We do require some more stuff first. I wonder if we're going to potentially think about building up some more cultivation stuff. We could get some cotton. That is true now. We can get cotton, and will that fit in there? That will fit in there. So, good stuff. Does mean that we have a negative water flow, so we're going to have a little bit of a think about that. What can we do about water? So we can't quite yet build that, because we need to build a windmill, and we'll need to build a power substation. Not that we really have anything that particularly kind of relies on power at the moment, but we'll certainly just get it built anyway. Let's just kind of produce some electricity, and we'll get the windmill down as well. Good stuff. Love to see it. Let's open up our sort of development screen here and kind of see how we're doing. This kind of like gives us an idea of like how good our kind of city is. And again, I mean, you can kind of see there with the sort of text box. The game is quite nice, but it definitely feels a little bit clunky, just in terms of, I know they have technically reached their version 1.0, where they've got a lot of the stuff that they kind of need down, but it does feel as though like a lot of it is just a little bit, it's a little bit clunky in terms of UI design. There just needs to be like a little bit more thought there. At least that's my personal kind of thought about it. You know, and I'm not trying to cast, you know, like big dispersions on anybody. I know like the game as a whole is quite solid, and I quite like it, but there's certainly things that could be done to improve it. I think obviously every game should try and be the best possible game it can be, if possible. Now the only thing is we've got no depot close by, so we're going to need to go ahead and purchase ourselves another depot, which we don't quite have the plywood for. We need to make sure that we've got some more water as well. It's one of the reasons why we're wanting to get new development levels. And in fact, maybe, just maybe, That'll be enough. So that's the agricultural done. We're not quite done in terms of our utilities. As soon as we do that, we can actually get additional water stuff done, and that'll be good. Yeah, you need a water tower nearby because you're quite water intensive, unlike these two. You can see here that does require a little bit of water, which is a bit of a shame, but we shall manage. This depot over here, so we'll use that to construct our gravel quarry, so we should be able to start building up our gravel, which is nice. And this is kind of like, is going to be one of the things that we need in order to build our kind of industry. You can also get gravel roads, which what they do is they basically just extend the sort of range of your buildings. So, and also look a little bit nicer as well, I always think. So you can kind of see there that this cotton field, this depot has got quite a large range. It's able to quite easily kind of go around. Our trucks are able to move pretty quick too, which is also quite good. And you don't want to overload your depots as well, because if you overload it, it means that, you know, you're going to have goods sitting around, which you don't want. You want to have as much of your goods kind of like ready to go as possible. But in the same token, you kind of want to have things close together. So for example, if we were to build, say, I guess kind of where the vegetable farm would have actually been a much better place to go, because we've got a flour mill into a bakery and go in from there. But it's fine. We can always do it so that the flour mill goes into the bakery here, and then the bakery is the one that's going to go into the depot here. Now, what do they need? So they need some flour in order to make enough stuff. Now we only need 6 flour per, and we get 8 flour per time we go through. So it should mean that we're actually okay for getting things done. We've got a gravel pit done. Great. Love to see it. Love to see it. That should help us out quite a bit. Keep us going. Now, as for these windmills, I'm going to continue purchasing just a few more windmills just to make sure that we're going to have enough power going forward. Little achievement there. And we can kind of see how things go. I think we also potentially want to try and build like a coal mine over here. Do we have enough planks? No, we do not. Planks do seem to be kind of like the limiting factor at the moment, as well as people. We're starting to lose a little bit in terms of our numbers, and this is one of the reasons why I like to get a large number of houses. Doesn't mean you're going through your bread pretty quick, but now we're actually able to get bread up and running. There we go. We also got upgrades we can do once we get to certain development levels. I haven't really talked much about the development screen. So this is your development screen. As you're kind of building up stuff, and as you're getting more goods and such running, you start to level up in this development screen. That development screen is really what helps you kind of like get things up. So for example, we get to utilities, we get that up to level 2, then we get access to things like the water pump, etc. And that'll be a big help. We've got these breakthroughs. You can spend breakthroughs to boost the scientific development on a certain path if you want to. But I don't think we'll bother about that just now. And instead, we'll just continue on. We've got our gravel pit going. That seems to be going all right. We've got our new depot there. We'll get another depot over here by this coal, potentially over by this quartz as well. I think that makes the most sense. And we can kind of have a little think about how we're kind of doing in terms of our stockpiles. As far as I can think, I don't think we're doing particularly bad or anything like that. But no upgrades for our depots as of yet. Nothing to really worry about there. And overall, we're just trying to expand nicely. Now, do we want to potentially grab some more people? I don't think that is a bad thing to do. What kind of luxuries? You would love to have some newspapers if we could. Additionally, you'd like to have a clinic. We've got the fire station. It's close by enough that it's okay. We can't recruit anything else for the public services. There's a small amount of riot risk, but should be fine. Ah, perfect. So that fire station is actually using up the power in that power substation. That's good. So that should at least enable us to make sure that we're given enough safety. What we'll probably do as well is we'll grab our gravel roads and we'll upgrade these roads here. There we go. Just so we can get some more fire coverage with our fire station. Beautiful. Yeah, you should be a little bit happier about your safety. New development has reached. Fantastic. And that's unlocked ourselves our water pump and our water tower. Good. So, how do we get that up? So we want to get ourselves a little kind of water tower. So we've got the water tower and the water pump. So we're going to get ourselves the water tower. Let's build that up there. And then we want a water pump, which we're going to have to build up onto this area over here, this kind of aquifer. There we are. And make sure we've got that all kind of built up and along to where these guys are here. Good stuff. So yeah, so you're producing water. So you can see there that we're producing water in our water pumps. And then we're using that for our cotton field here in order to help us grow additional crops. As we all know, vegetables and grain don't require water. But I guess maybe it's probably because cotton's a little bit more water intensive. Yes, people luxuries are low. That means they're not paying taxes. So you can see here you've got your kind of anno game play where so you've got your income and your expenses, and you know, you spend money on your building, you spend money on your wages, and your people kind of buy stuff off you in order to pay to live, basically. And that's kind of how the game kind of goes. Yep, so we got a gravel pit, as we already said. Let's get ourselves our coal mine. And let's get that up and running. We're going to need to build another depot for that as well, because it's just a little bit further away. I think in terms of the depot here, what we'll actually do is we'll kind of build up over here, because it's going to be near this quartz thing later on. And then let's get a nice little depot to sit there. Need some more people. That's absolutely fine. Just means that we need more housing. Yeah, so we can see here that we can also get a manufacturer's house for manufacturers, which will also be great. I think what we do instead is we just continue to build up for these guys here, like so. Now we don't quite have enough things there, but that should hopefully bring in enough people that we have enough workers to then sort of work on our next production building. Currently, I'm thinking we go into both the weaver and the clothier, the clothmeister, and we use them in order to make sure that we're doing okay. This power substation is going to be all right for down there, but I think we also additionally build out ourselves another substation over here. Going to be next to our other depot, so we can start to build out some other things. These trucks, however, are starting to get very busy. We've really put our industry close together here. So, you know, moving everything around is taking up an awful lot of our trucks. So do we have any upgrades? We do have powered machinery, or we have an oversight office, or a loading ramp that we can't get because we don't have quite the level yet. But hopefully we will do soon enough. As far as our grain goes, going okay. Our farm is also going fine. Everything's working 100% efficiency, which is good. Should mean that we're not losing too much money, just a little bit. Nothing too bad. And you can see there, all of a sudden our labourers have jumped back up again. We've got a whole bunch more guys completely unemployed. And if they're unemployed, that means they can work. That's how that logic goes, I believe. What we will do, I think we'll actually put the weaver and the clothier over here, because they can at least we don't quite have enough planks again, but that's okay. We can use the kind of depot kind of things here. You don't even have a substation, so we'll need to build another one there, and we'll need some more planks for that. There we go, found them. What we should do is, because we now have all of our people, is we should try and find some additional ruined buildings, such as over here, just to give us a little bit of salvage. These things are good because it means that we can salvage them, and we can see here from things like this, we can get clothes, cellulose, cloth, all that kind of jazz. It's all quite nice. We got a damaged depot over here and some ruins by the looks of things, so we could actually repair this depot instead of just having to salvage it. I think what we do is we salvage everything around it, and we maybe think about that, because what is that? This is a damaged building of some kind. Looks like a power substation, potentially. Interesting. Something to keep a little eye on, because there might be... okay, there you go. So this is a good place if we wanted to. I think we do. We say, hey, just repair these two, because that has our iron on it, and that's what we're going to be wanting to do in order to produce iron as per our quest. So if we pop our iron over here, and then we make sure that we have our various kind of road systems going over here and connecting everything up. Like so. I believe that'll be the way around it goes. It doesn't quite do it while it's repairing, but I think I can tell from how the building is situated. So what we got here, we got some more ruins. So yeah, we'll just salvage everything over here. We might as well use all of our labourers as much as we can, even though it's kind of going around and just kind of clicking. Just in order to basically just salvage as much as we can. In fact, it looks like there's another little damaged building over there, which is kind of interesting. Have to keep that in mind. And then some more ruins over here. It takes them a little bit of like a day or so in order to get this done, but that's fine. Got some more iron deposits over there. Fantastic. Some clay. And we've got our cotton field that's kind of sitting out over here that we must have accidentally repaired earlier when I was kind of just rapidly clicking on things and chatting. Absolute crap, as I'm known to do. But yeah, I think overall, I know, and sort of just now we're just kind of going over sort of like the basics. So, you know, you're thinking about how to supply your population with various goods, you know, make sure that you're kind of raising up your development levels, your civics, you're making them feel better. You're trying to basically reclaim this sort of like this older world. We can't quite update our guy just yet. That's a little bit of a shame. What have we got development wise? Got new living stuff, which means that we got labor high rises, so we can get high density houses, which is good. Our agriculture's doing pretty well. I mean, that's, so we've got our flour mill and our bakeries. Over here, we've got access to our zinc and our copper mines. Over here, that's our utilities, which are still doing pretty well on. We've got an elementary school, which is what we actually want in order to increase our labourers. Transport, we're getting some more stuff. We've got a warehouse, which we can get to increase our overall limits. We don't have anything for morale quite yet. Yeah, we need to build a printing press for that. We'll get around to that at some point. We're just trying to make sure that we've got enough stuff to go. And I mean, like right now, we're going back to our clothier and our weaver, making sure that we're producing a good amount of clothes for everybody. And how are we doing for power? We're doing okay for power, I do believe. Yeah, the windmills are producing a decent amount of electricity. We've at least got a little bit more, which is good. Over here, we've got our gravel pit as well. I'm wondering if we potentially think about producing some heavy industry too. Think about cellulose to make paper, which then allows us to produce the printing press. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. How are we doing for our plywood? We're doing all right. Yeah, it's certainly something to think about. Is like these buildings here do require a fair bit of investment in order to work properly, but that's okay. We can make that work. Let's do that. We'll get ourselves a nice little road to go around there, connect them all up to the depot. Let's make it gravel just because we can. It costs a little bit more. Good stuff. We need to make sure that we've got some more electricity, so we will do that just now. So let us get ourselves our power substation. We can put that there, and we'll get a couple of windmills as well. We don't quite have enough labourers, but that has at least made it so that we're no longer in the negatives in terms of our production. And we can see here as well, you can get additional sort of like upgrades and stuff that you can use if you want to. These windmills are doing okay for just now. And if we can get a printing press up, that should make us a little bit happier. Additionally, we want to try and get some new labour. So why don't we have a little look at this labourer high-rise and see what we can do there. If only that I could have fit in there, that would have made my life feel so much better. But alas, not today. What we can do instead is we can pop down these guys here. And then we can potentially even put... you'll not quite fit in there, but we could delete that road. We're not really using that road. We don't need that road. So let's just do that. Yeah. Because we can just get ourselves some new high-rises. And I think that'll be quite nice. It should mean that we have plenty of workers. Now, this does require bricks, which is a resource we're not currently making. So that is something to think about. However, we've managed to salvage enough from the various kind of like ruins around the sort of map. So it's at least allowing us to get a kind of a start on these larger buildings, which should give us a whole bunch of laborers, which is great. And of course, as we know, laborers are what's going to make us get more money because they're going to want to spend on things. So for example, if we build ourselves our education, say for example like this elementary school, which we might put down instead of this last bit there, that's going to need some more plywood, however, which is a little bit of a shame. And that'll cause these guys to pay some more taxes because they'll have all of their services that they're kind of looking for. Ah, perfect. Got a new development point as well. Good stuff. Which one was that? Was that transport? No, transport was the one we already had. Potentially nope, not agriculture. It'll be the last one you always check. That's how it goes. Yes, refinery. For oil pumps and refiner. This will mean that we're able to produce a whole bunch more other stuff. It means we can produce diesel and crude oil, which we can then use for other things. Now, in terms of our military, we do also have our military bases, which is something we've got to think about. We're not currently using it, but we will potentially use in the future. We got our oil pumps there, all good and going. We're currently not producing any of our iron, which is a little bit surprising. Yeah, because we haven't actually linked these to the town centre. When you mean to do something and then you just entirely forget because your mind's just completely gone. So what are we going to need to do for this? Well, we're going to need to connect this big old road up to here. It's going to cost us a little bit of wood in order to connect this up, but boom, there we go. That's them connected up. And that should mean that you guys are all nice and happy now. This means that we've got our iron mine, which means that we should be able to build a smelter. There we go. Now, it does also need coal, but we've fortunately, very fortunately, almost as if someone had planned this, we've actually got coal over here. Wow. Who could have thought? So let's get ourselves our coal mine up. Like so. We don't have the plywood. That's fine. Yeah, we're not going to have the plywood for a while, but that's okay. What we can do is we can just build a road ready to go. And we can sit there and we can get ourselves our iron just until we get enough plywood. Let's have a little look around. Let's see if we've got anything else we can tear down for spare parts. So I think we will. You can see them on the map from the little yellow things, in case you're wondering where I'm kind of getting the idea from, about where they are. And this is just a really good way of kind of, in the early game, just kind of increasing the speed of your extraction. There we go. Good stuff, good stuff. Yeah. We'll just continue to get them away, seeing as we have so many laborers ready to, or waiting for work. We might as well get them to go out into the unknown and just tear things down. And hopefully that'll give us a whole bunch of plywood in order to work with. Now, additionally, the other thing... Oh, here we go. So we can level up our town centre, and we can choose our political alignments. This is kind of where we kind of decide, oh, what kind of way do we want to go, and what kind of... How do we want to align in terms of our political alignment? Do we want to encourage union? Do we want to encourage pacifism? Or do we want to encourage the nation state? Now, I think out of all of these, pacifism could be quite useful for the development points. It's always nice to have additional development points. Union's really good for labourers, so it means that for our lowest strata in our city, we have much better production, so we don't need to hire as many of them, and we've also got the immigration interest. I think out of all of them, we're going to go union, actually. Let's enact our policy. Boom. We've chosen our first social pillar as we come here in our town centre, finally looking a little bit better, which is nice. Oh, didn't mean to do that. So yes, we've got union, we've reached a new development level in our utilities, which means we can get a clay pit on our brickworks done, which is good. That's what we're going to need for building up our other houses. We also need some additional power generation. So how do we do that? We get another windmill. So boom, another windmill goes down, uses up some of our more of our plywood that we're wanting to use. Now, additionally with this plywood, we could think about building some additional lumber yards, which I don't think is a bad idea. Certainly, we could even, if we wanted to be incredibly cheeky, build it so that it's actually connected to the lumber yard, like so. I don't think that's a bad idea. Because already, as we can see, this depot is just a little bit... it's struggling, put it that way. It's certainly kind of struggling. This is where you kind of miss the sort of anno 1800s kind of like sort of move anywhere. I know it makes the game easier, but it's like when you want to just move stuff, you can do that. And unfortunately, we do kind of have something like that with the move system where you can just pick them up like that and pop them down, but you don't have the easy one where it's like you click and drag. You know what I mean? Probably don't know what I mean, but I know what I mean. So that's all that matters, really, right? Let's pop that water tower over here, because I don't believe anything else over here actually needed water, which is good. And that should mean that we're able to get another heavy industry and get another lumber yard here. Right, so where was I? Thoughts on the game. We've gone 30 minutes. I think we can actually start going on about thoughts. Yeah, as I say, pretty decent city builder. What do I mean by pretty decent? Well, look how many different ways you've got of producing resources. Anything where you're producing a lot of resources, you have a lot of interconnecting kind of, you know, varying different trees and gameplay elements and buildings all kind of work together to produce resources to then get a benefit, which just really, really makes me happy. It's probably the best way to say it. It really it all gels really well, especially when you finally get like a really nice production line going. You feel pretty good about it. What are my problems with the game? I do have a few. Warfare's pretty good. It's pretty good for this kind of game. Like, it's not great. It's not fantastic. It's not, you know, it's not like you're playing Dominions or you're playing, you know, Hearts of Iron 4 or anything like that. You know, it's a fairly basic kind of war system, but it's still pretty decent. The problem is that you've got and maybe we'll be able to show this off in this video, perhaps we won't, is kind of moving units around. Can be a bit of a pain, especially when it comes to allied armies. I usually find them to be quite annoying. They get in the way. You can only really have like one allied army in a province, which doesn't make sense. I guess it's to try and stop you from like deathballing the AI. But yeah, I'm still on the fence about that. Let's put it that way. You know, I understand the devs are probably like doing a certain thing that they kind of like, you know, it's how they want to do it. But yeah, at least in my mind, it's kind of, it just feels a little bit weird is all. Let's make sure that we've got ourselves our brickworks. Sorry, once again, going off on a tangent because trying to think about things we're doing. We still need to build our coal as well. Yep, and we need to build a depot there. So yeah, that's part of my issues that I have with it. Like, it's a solid game otherwise. Additionally, sort of like, so we're absolutely fine for just now. I have a decent computer. I should probably remember to put my computer specs in my description if people are interested. But you know, you've got access to, or like I've got a decent computer. It's all right in the early game, runs decent in the mid game, but in the late game when you've got a big city and you've got a lot of like kind of production lines and sort of vehicles going to and fro, the performance does kind of tank. And that's probably my biggest issue, is it feels like you can't get to once you kind of get to like a late game thing, you really start to feel that limit in performance, and that can be quite annoying to kind of to play with. You know, you want your city builders so that when you finally get to the end game, it runs well enough, you know, or at least that's kind of how I kind of feel about it. You want to make sure that, you know, your city builder, you've slogged through the early game, you kind of got your production lines right, you've managed to conquer a few neighbors, things are going well, and the game starts to really grind to a halt. I mean, it's just a little bit frustrating. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to throw large dispersions on the game or anything like that. It's just, for me, that's a really irritating kind of thing to happen. And I understand as well. Yeah, well, I didn't place that very well, did I? Must have slipped a little bit there. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, it's just, it's one of those things that it's one of my pet peeves, basically, with a city builder. I like a city builder that runs well enough that you can get into the late game and you can do kind of well in it. And I mean, like, we barely touched the surface of this game. Like, we're still, you know, rocketing up in our developments. We've not done anything with military. We haven't built a factory to produce, you know, like food rations or, you know, anything like that. We haven't even created like a military base yet. You know, which I guess we could maybe just do just now, just to kind of show it off what happens. There we go. What are you guys complaining about? Oh, no water supply. I see. And I mean, it's cool that you've got like all these different kind of things. Everything's going to be close to depot. You got to make sure that you got your power, you've got your water, you've got all your kind of various needs kind of met. In fact, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to also potentially produce an elementary school. There's a lot of things, like, you're juggling a lot of plates, and that's always a good place to be in a sort of city builder, so you don't get bored, is to be like, right, well, I've got a lot of plates to juggle, you know, I've got a lot of things to do at once. It means that you're constantly always thinking, oh, what's the next thing to do? What can I kind of work towards in order to improve the city? I've got to like think about multiple things at once, and that's kind of how you want to do it. Like, I mean, even if, you know, it's not that hard in terms of like actual clicking, having to actually sit there and think about it is quite nice. So yeah, we should be getting our clothes. People should be feeling quite good in terms of their luxuries. Yep, they got clothes, they got newspaper, they got everything they need. Now they just need some, they need a clinic, and they also need their school. So this should be decently placed, I think. There we go. So you need some more electricity. That's fine. We can do that. Unfortunately, we can't put another windmill over here, but we can put two there. And that'll do. Yep, get employed. We've got plenty of laborers. I mean, as I say, we haven't even actually built kind of the manufacturers yet. We've just mostly been focusing on laborers. It does look like you're slightly struggling in terms of your placement. Yeah, you don't quite reach all the way over there, which is a bit of a shame. Let's upgrade these to gravel. I don't know why it's a bit weird that that's happening, isn't it? I thought that was just maybe me just misclicking there with my bit. And yeah, like I guess maybe that's another kind of issue that I have, where it's just the game overall, the game works well. There's just a couple of things that are maybe just a little bit like clunky. As I say, like the UI feels a little bit clunky, the controls feel a little bit clunky. you know, kind of building things occasionally feels a little bit clunky. It's like sometimes your right click closes menu, sometimes it doesn't. I think it's because it's also bound to like moving around. You know, it's yeah, it's just kind of... So let's go ahead and train up our first militiamen. We don't have any handguns. We make them in factories. I guess we could also make a factory just to try and show it off. We might as well. Let's build ourselves a factory. Do require some of our manufacturers now, so let's get ourselves some manufacturers. Now, manufacturers kind of live in sort of slightly nicer houses, and we probably want to build like their own kind of like area in order to do that. Although I think they do also use the school, so maybe we kind of just do that here, and we'll just kind of build them, you know, their own little kind of sector alongside the laborers there. See, there we go. There we go. Slightly nicer houses, which is always good. And then that should hopefully, yeah, see here, like I'm trying to exit out and it's not quite working. It's okay, we got there in the end. So we got our manufacturers coming in. There we go. And they want vegetables, they want bread, they also want fish, they want meat, they want water. You know, they're a little bit more needy in terms of like kind of what they want in comparison to laborers. Laborers are quite happy to kind of work, you know, for a pittance and just kind of, you know, exist, whereas the manufacturers are actually wanting something. They need something for their pop needs to think of Victoria too, as I often do. But yeah, it's good to kind of see that things are happening. There we go. We got military level number 1, which is good. Means we can produce things like field guns and other such stuff. You can build like whole things like tanks and bombers and, you know, your infantry, and kind of, you know, wander about the world and start kind of conquering stuff. It does feel like in that way it's kind of cool. It's kind of like a cool city builder that lets you go out. Gosh, what was there was a really cool Chinese city builder. There's a couple of them actually. I think one of them was, not Dynasty Warriors. Dynasty Warriors is the entirely wrong thing. Sorry, I'm trying to think about what on earth this thing was called, and I can't even quite remember, to be perfectly honest with you. All I remember is it was a nice game. It was a pretty good game. I had lots of very decent kind of like long-lasting sort of like production lines and army logistics. You started like a wall. You could recruit heroes. That's what I think why I'm getting not confused with Dynasty Warriors, but why that certainly came into my head. If anybody down in the comments can remember that, that would be good. I remember I had this exact distinct conversation with my friends like not so long ago. And I also couldn't remember it then. I can't remember it now, which is kind of a little bit annoying, but never mind. Right, let's grab ourselves our zinc, because that's our job. And we can try and see if we can do anything else. I'm trying to basically just kind of get to the point where I can show off the majority of the game's kind of functions for you here. The more that I can show off, the better. Do I think I'll be playing this game as a kind of series? I don't know. I'm certainly going to see what people's thoughts are. I've enjoyed the game enough single player. I think it's more just it's just the end game that kind of makes me feel just a little bit more not so happy with it. And maybe not so happy, it feels a little bit harsh. Like, it's not that I'm not happy with it. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much to the developers for giving us a key. I have enjoyed the game. It's just there's a lot of things that could be done better. Let's put it that way. Constructive criticism. There's ways to improve. There's certainly ways to improve, and I don't think, and that's not a negative thing to say. That's just, you know, something you can do. Let's get ourselves some nice decorations. Let's get some violets over here. There we go. Get a nice little garden there. Yeah, there's certainly ways to improve, and I think going forward that'd be quite cool thing to do. But let's also make sure that we're building up our additional kind of areas over here. So get some fisheries, because we're going to need them for our laborers. We're going to need that for another depot, which is fine. We'll do that there. So you guys should now start to do that. And we could also think about producing some milk. There we go. Or sorry, not milk, meat. These aren't dairy cows. These are beef cows. Get yourself some meat. There we go. So they should need a water tower. But of course, let's do that. So far we're doing okay on water. Yep, there we go. So you guys are now getting what should hopefully be a decent amount of meat. Laborers are lacking basic stuff, apparently. That's not good. What are they lacking? We may be running out of vegetables. We are indeed running out of vegetables, so we're going to need to get some additional farms on the go. And I think we potentially have a little look and see where we can kind of just place a whole bunch of farms together. Because they don't need water, we can just put down quite a lot of them. So we can maybe put down like a couple there. Probably would have actually been better off just... in fact, yeah, let's move you over here instead. We can kind of have you on the main kind of road. And then have you guys link up to, say, like a depot over here. It still allows us to kind of go up the way if we need to. You're a little bit far away, so we're not going to quite be able to manage that unless we put just another depot down here. Which, I mean, is it the most effective? No. Does it get us development points? Yes. So, you know, it could be worse. Let's do that, and we can get ourselves some more agriculture buildings. Let's get ourselves some more veggies. No, we need more plywood, and we've got no more buildings in which to scrap. But that's okay. We do make a decent amount of wood. We probably actually need another forester, if I'm thinking rightly. Because probably, in fact, we could probably even just do with another depot, just kind of in this area. I imagine that would be a big help for, like, moving stuff about. So maybe that's what we'll do as well. Now that we're making money, we can, you know, be a little bit more, not wasteful, but we can certainly do a lot more. In fact, yeah, you can see there, we're making quite a bit of money. So that's nice. We're getting a good amount of fishies coming out, which is good. You guys, yeah, you should be getting your fish and your meat. You're getting some of your needs met. You also want gramophones, you want ales, you want radios if you can. You like civics, but you also like other things. There's not enough fire stations over here, so maybe we potentially as well build ourselves a little fire station over here. Just to be sure everybody's safety need is nice and high. Got another development thing, which is number 5, transport, which is good. We've been able to make a trade port, so we can actually trade overseas as well, which is going to be quite nice. As we got ourselves our marketplace on the go. Do we want to trade anything currently? I think we're not. I mean, we could trade our bricks. We do actually have quite a bit of bricks. That is something we could trade. Yeah, let's trade our stuff there. So, aye. So we want to have that in our stock. So let's say that we want to have, say, 200 bricks. So we can sell that and make some decent money. We could also think about importing some stuff. I know, as we were saying, we're doing all right for grain. We're doing okay for flour. We could do with more bread is the only thing. So let's produce ourselves some more bread. Get another bakery. Boom. There we go. You should... you might actually struggle a little bit now. You should be all right to kind of cover both of them. That should give us enough bread. And we should hopefully be okay. So... you do also have these additional things. You can like say, hey, what kind of weather you want and that kind of stuff. That can be kind of cool if you want certain things. Let's open up the world map so we can kind of see where we are. This is where we are. So we're in the British Isles. This is our kind of area here. You can see like this is where we can upgrade our regions. So we can say, hey, we've got our kind of regions up here that we can kind of upgrade. So for example, we could build ourselves a propaganda bureau. We could build a factory complex, a mining site, infrastructure for helping armies throughout the region, tax offices to increase upkeep, air bases, so you can use your flights and such, which we probably will do when we get a little second. We've got factory complexes, farming centres, which could be nice. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to get a farming centre. Let's actually build a farming centre over there in Ireland. Aye, let's do it. There we go. Good stuff. And hopefully this will assist our kind of our way here. What kind of garrison do we have? We could get ourselves a militia one. Oh, we've actually found out about another region, East Colmia. Now, where on earth is East Colmia? Do we even know? Doesn't look like it. Maybe we'll find out soon enough whereabout it is, and especially now that we've kind of got our first initial kind of militia over here. It means that we're able to kind of do some stuff there. We can also build ourselves a field gun if we want, which we can do if we use our factories in order to make something other than food rations. So obviously we've got food rations here. We could also switch it to use army rations, handguns, rifles, submachine guns, machine guns, food rations. The world is our oysters. Currently we've got them on food rations because that's what we need for our for our guys. Oh, I didn't actually notice that we're slightly below our labor amount, so let's get another high rise down. Like so. Get them built up and connected up. That'll be good. There we go. You can feel the squalor from here. It's fantastic. Yeah, looking at the time, I don't think we're really going to be able to kind of do very much more than kind of like show you kind of the world map. It's going to take us a little bit of time in order to sort of build up, say, like our navy and such. So it might be a little bit of time before that kind of thing. But hopefully that's going to give you an idea of like what the introduction to the game is like, kind of what the sort of gameplay loop is. Very similar to sort of something like Anno. As I say, nice game. Quite a pretty game in its own style. Interesting kind of thing. Army system is decent. It just has a couple of detractions that I know the developers are probably going to work on and make things better. Would I recommend it? I would say I would recommend you play it. I would say probably or potentially think about getting it at a sale. If it's on a sale, certainly get it. If they really if you kind of like watch this gameplay and you think that you kind of like the kind of logistics kind of based and production based kind of game, then I would say go for it. If you're on the fence to say wait for a sale, I would certainly say this game is probably like around about a 3.5 out of 5, with 4 being very good and then obviously 5 being excellent. I think this is somewhere between good and very good. I've certainly enjoyed my time. As a couple of wee niggles, as I've said, that I'm no too happy with, but overall I think it's a very decent game, and you can kind of see how far you can get in a year. You're gonna get, I would say, you'd probably get your money's worth in terms of hours. When it comes to sort of like how long you're actually going to be play it. It's got a decent amount of replayability with the factions and like kind of different ways of doing things, and with the political systems as well. It's quite interesting to kind of say like, oh, which kind of political leanings you want to do, as well as stuff like your development. You've certainly got some options about which way you want to go. But yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll actually kind of pause this here. So just want to say another big thank you to Overseer Games for giving us a free copy of Kaiserpunk in order to try. You can check out Kaiserpunk if you're interested at the Steam store. I'll put it in the description below for you to have a little look. And just once again, thank you very much to Overseer for giving us a shot. And hopefully I've not been too harsh on you. Everything I've said is entirely based on the idea that, you know, constructive criticism is good criticism. And you probably kind of feel a bunch of the stuff, and they're probably actually working on a lot of the stuff that maybe I have issues. And I think with a bunch of ironing out stuff, you've got a very decent city builder here that I think fans of Anno and stuff like that will certainly like. But yeah, just want to say big thank you once again to Overseer Games for supplying us with a free key in order to do this kind of review playthrough. And a big thank you to everybody watching, and a big thank you to all the members of the Burger Band. Once again, if you'd like to become a member of the Burger Band, you can do so via the link down below. Gives you access to videos as soon as they're uploaded, rather than when they're scheduled to come out, as well as some other benefits as well. But yeah, just want to say big thank you to watching, big thank you to Overseer Games, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Until then, take care.